Alrighty, good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, August 10th, 2023. We're going to get started here. I have two announcements to make before we get started with everything. The first thing I want to announce is that we have a presentation coming up over the weekend. So there is something known as the Investors Summit, Traders Roadmap to Success. It will be a 6-hour event. There's going to be 6 other presenters, and it'll be a very similar presentation to the Tiger Shark webinar, where I talk about my process for mapping out the charts, finding good levels and rotations in the market. So not new information, but I will be presenting to promote this community and the trading service. And there's going to be, again, there's going to be 6 or 7 other presenters. So it's going to be a nice Saturday morning event for anyone who's interested. Those on the East Coast, it will more so be a lunch into the afternoon event, but for us on the Pacific, on the West Coast here, it will be a nice morning event up until about 2 p.m. So if you register with this link here, I do get some credit. I'm not getting any kickbacks. But the company who's running, I believe it's called Traders Roadmap, they will, see that I'm bringing people in, and it'll just give me some kudos, some brownie points, and maybe they'll invite me on to their next event. So hopefully you guys will be there. Hopefully you'll use this registration code here, and I'll probably leave this in the link. So if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll leave this link here in the YouTube comments. So that's my first announcement. Second announcement is tomorrow I will be doing a very early pre-market. So this won't affect anyone watching the videos on YouTube, but it will affect my subscribers. We're going to be starting, and let me go ahead and type this out with my pen here, if it would open. So Friday, August 11th, 2023, early pre-market. So this is tomorrow, right? So tomorrow morning, early pre-market, starting at 4:15 a.m. Pacific. Okay, that's 7:15 on the East Coast there. And we'll do our pre-market. It will be recorded, and like I said, I'll try to get that up and out to the subscribers if they can't make it for that morning broadcast. And now I don't know what's going on. There we go. So those are the two announcements. Let's go ahead and jump into our review for yesterday so we can talk about our pre-market for this morning. So coming into the market yesterday, what did we say? We said that the only signal that we had on the chart was a nice clear 4-hour bearish signal from the overnight highs. So let's look at that very quickly here. So on the 4-hour, we were coiling up. Remember, we kept getting these measured moves, these pops up that were of equal length here. For a couple days, there was a pop here and a pullback, and then a measured move back up, pull back, another measured move, I guess yesterday, popped up. But at the top of the move, as we were coming into the pre-market yesterday, we had a nice clear potential bearish signal up there. And that was the only signal we had. The hourly wasn't giving us much. The daily wasn't really giving us much. And I warned you that it was probably going to continue to be choppy in this section of the chart. In fact, let me go back up to the 4-hour here. Inside of all this chop for the previous 2 or 3 days, it was probably going to be a choppy situation. So let's look at what happened here, going back to August 9th. Okay, so here's the market open, the vertical line there. And what did the market do? Well, it continued to sell off. So there were some opportunities to short the back end of the FMA right out of the open there. And then the market just, sold off. We got a nice hold right off of 50% of the day before. And then as you can see, for quite a while, the market essentially was holding right around 50% of the day before. Not a surprising thing to see. Almost looking like maybe the bulls were going to find some strength to pop things back up, but the bears swatted it down every test right off the back end of the scaffolding, right one tick in front of the close of the day before, and then again holding our scaffolding level with less than a 2-point break. In fact, it was mostly just a couple ticks through the scaffolding level, and then they continued to sell off. Found again another little area of support here right at our next area of expected support, which was, I believe, that 61.8 retrace. And then finally continued to sell off, holding the back end of the FMA the whole way, holding our scaffolding level nearly to the tick for a continued sell-off. And this is that stair-step action that we've talked about, where the market literally comes down and holds the back end of our levels as it's coming down. And again, yesterday was a master class in that type of setup there all throughout the morning. And then we found the low. And what was the low of the day yesterday? Our next expected support zone. I don't know how many days we come in and our expected resistance up top or expected support at the bottom becomes to the tick or nearly to the tick, the low or the swing high for the day. So the low of the day yesterday, our next expected support zone here. And remember, we've been talking about this level around 76 to 78 here for probably weeks now. And again, this just excites me so much to see the market come right to it, and it literally bounced one tick in front of that support zone. And then from there, we started to get a little bit of a rally back up. And like I said, it was going to be choppy inside of all this price action from the low of the day before up to basically the high of the day before and a little bit beyond that, right? So came all the way down to the bottom end of the range and then popped it right back up. And then where did the market go? And notice on the way up here, market pulled back. We got a little bit too much of a breakthrough the 200 here. It was 87 down to about 83.75 there. So it did pop through by more than 2 points, but on that second test, right to it there, a couple ticks of a break, and then we were off to the races here to come all the way back up. Little trouble at VWAP. Again, not a surprising thing to see. And then finally popped up right into the scaffolding level. And again, this is like the bumpers that I talk about. Like you're at the bowling alley, you got your bumpers up, and it's just kind of back and forth. Now, we didn't get a beautiful pullback right to the 200, which we do see pretty often. But that would have been a nice, sexy setup there. But came up and then again, got through the 50% level, pulled back, held it to the tick, came to the scaffolding, came back to the 50%, came back to the scaffolding, pulled back, and then went right to the close of the day before. Held the scaffolding on the upside multiple times to the tick, and then it started to come down. And again, just like these bumpers, right into the 200, right into the FMA, and then once we got below the 200, held the back end here, and then pulled back coming into the end of the day. So at the end of the day here, kind of nothing too sexy, but held the back end of the VWAP, held the back end of the 200 here, and then held the FMA all the way down into the sell-off at the close. And then once the market broke down below, the scaffolding came right back to it to the tick. So if you were watching the market the last 10 minutes there, beautiful parry right off, huge divergence if you were looking at your RVI down below, and then continued to sell off there. So some beautiful price action at the end of the day as well. And then we got this rally here coming into the overnight session. So we popped back through. Interestingly enough, had trouble again at the scaffolding, pulled back, and then coming into Globex here, this is what happened last night coming into this morning. Now guys, I don't know how many mornings for the last 2, 3, 4 days I told you about these pullbacks to VWAP. We talked about this specifically, seeing the market in the overnight session coming out of the Globex. In fact, if you really zoom in here and you look at what happened, and this was a little too close for me. If we only pop through the VWAP by that much, I'm not really looking for a pullback. I'd like to see a bigger push and then a pullback to it, but neither here nor there. I mean, right to it. Oh, wrong button there, huh? Right to it to the tick. Right to it nearly to the tick. A bounce in front by 1 tick. We got a little shy push through here, maybe a 2-point break. And I don't know what happened to my pointer here. What was that? 96.75. Yeah, not even a 2-point break here. And then here's another hold by merely a tick or two. And the market continued to rally, came back to the FMA, and got this pop. And then look what happened here in the overnight session. The high of the overnight session for quite a while was our scaffolding once again. All right, and then it pulled back, held the 200 and VWAP again. And then here, coming into the news event this morning, what happened? We held the VWAP in the big swath of volatility here when the news dropped for the CPI and jobless claims at 8:30 Eastern this morning. Right to it again. I mean, if all you did was buy pullbacks to the VWAP for the last week or two, you should have made a whole lot of money. So any type of little stop outs you got here and there should have been nothing if you were able to capture even just one evening of these setups. Now, does that mean that every evening we're going to pull back to VWAP and hold it nearly to the tick like we've seen for day after day here? If we just scroll back and look at the pre-market sessions here, holding VWAP nearly every single morning or every single Globex session, pulling back right to it. It doesn't mean it's going to work every night. But again, it's a very low risk opportunity to try. And when they work, you get yourself beautiful, beautiful trades that take on nearly zero risk. Coming out of the news, notice we hold right around, and it's messy right when the news is getting dropped, but basically hold right into our scaffolding up top again. So again, stair step action right up to the scaffolding, pull back, hold the 50% of the day before here, pull back, hold the VWAP, and then we pop up through the previous resistance and come right to the next one and come back down. And then look what happens. We hold that previous scaffolding and come down lower. So beautiful action in the overnight session, even throughout the news, levels holding beautifully. And now that brings us here to the open, or close to the open now. And what do you know what's happening? Right to the scaffolding, pull back, hold the FMA, right to our next scaffolding to the tick. Now we're pulling back and bounced off the 200, held the FMA, and we're pulling back off that. So again, this is why I call this a roadmap, right? It's literally when these levels are holding, they're holding nearly to the tick for some of the biggest notable rotations throughout the overnight and throughout the live session. So let's go ahead and jump up to our higher time frames.